Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today I have a game for you guys. I played against McMan42. I believe this is a ranked game, although I'm not entirely sure. It could have been a friendly. It's about a week and a half ago now that this one came out. I was still working on trying to learn Dutch-German core, which I have since discontinued because I really don't like the anti-air options at all, and it's such a fundamental part of the deck. But there are some things about it that are very powerful. You have the Verkennings, you have the 2A5 NL, you have a lot of good mechanized fire support, and my opponent, the Colonel McMan42, is gone for something roasty, toasty, and hoping to make me a little bit of a ghosty here because he is going to napalm my opener. And when you see this and you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, I can drive through it or not, I didn't quite know how to react, so I'm dumping some infantry that I shouldn't have. Should have taken them around into the woods here, and the rest of the column is doing this. But it's slow, and so 42 has an MI-17, he has infantry out really far forward in Delta, and here it is. There's also stuff going toward the city, and I do kind of have to wonder why 42 cared about napalming the opener if he was going to go for a town rush. Maybe if it's just to pull my attention, but that's a really large investment for that, so it's 135 points that just to pull my attention, and you see, that's not what he's doing either. There's two T-72 MIMs, there's Spezial Aufklärer here that are taking a little bit of a hammering caught in the open by some AMX-13 FL-12s, which is very nice for me. But it is a bit of a split opener for my opponent, and we're hopefully going to be able to react to this decently well. However, I need reinforcements. So LSTR, Specjalnie Notki, ASU 85Ms, and it looks like 42 actually had a bit of the same case of early unload syndrome as I did, because honestly, had you driven up the Specjalnie Notki right now, I don't have the infantry here to fight that. It's on its way, I'm bringing in some Stuttruppen, but it's not there right now, and there's a lot of stuff coming up here. Thermomig coming in and looking for what exactly? It turns out that 42 had turned off Evac Winchester, and therefore was keeping these around to use their air-to-air capabilities, but at the cost of one of them that does get taken out. Double tap by Roland 3. Can't always rely on that, but sometimes it can be quite nice. And then I'm trying to get up into the town, but I'm losing a lot of stuff because of those T-72 M1Ms, and I really don't have good control here on Delta Alpha at all. This is not quite a worst case scenario, but very close to one. If I lose the 2A5, we're going to be in some trouble. On the other hand, if we take the city, maybe it could be worse. So I have the Patu Tiger, there's a Thermomig coming in. My Roland 3 does have 5 missiles left, so I do have some preparation here, and I'm trying to stay away from these LSTR because they would take out the Tiger, but when you see a Thermomig, you don't think Helo Diver, so I wasn't prepared. I did not land the Tiger until after that first pass, and we're trying to get shots off here, but double miss off the Roland 3. This is why one of them is not enough. You need two to really make it reliable, and even then it can have some funny moments where we've gone through 4 missiles so far, 0 hits. I no longer have enough to kill this thing, and the Tiger trying to escape, trying to go back, does die. So really unfortunate there. Really quite unhappy about that, and directly followed up because my micro was over here in Delta with the Tiger. It was not on top of my 2A5, so I lose that to a plane. So this is pretty disastrous, right? This is pretty horrible. Oh, I love casting these. I really do. Oh my goodness. So at this point I was thinking to myself, alright, let's look at the good and the bad. The good is, we haven't lost this town completely. There's Specjalnie here, yes, but I have, 4 Stuttruppen. We should be able to tear up some Specjalnie and LSTR without too much difficulty right there. We have the town, but I have no force projection from it. I don't have ATGMs here. I don't have recon here, so I can't really see much. I can't really zone anything out. And there's now a Salamandra that's coming up here and is going to make life hard for me if I try to go forward. So only cost me a couple of boxes there, but still not great. And then on the right hand side, all I have is this FL-12, which probably should have been brought over to engage. Probably should have moved him over from here over to about here and been able to shoot in against these guys. It would have been quite nice. And it's not something you necessarily think about, because I was really just trying to not lose map control, right? What happens if I move this and 42 decides to double down on Fox? I haven't seen his reinforcements, really. We're 5 minutes in. I mean, yeah, we've seen Assyria, maybe even a second Thermomig. There has been a lot in the air. And I guess, yeah, well, okay, we have seen at least a large portion of his reinforcements. But because I don't pull this AMX-13 over, these LSTR, I have nothing that can hit them. it's really pretty goofy how far they go. I mean, I could have moved the Stoot Troop in, but there's still some vehicles back farther away, and I didn't want to get shot in the open. So, really pretty unfortunate stuff here. I'm going to go into a heavy investment on the left-hand side. I want to fight an alpha with this deck. That's fine with me. We're going to get Martyr 2s, we're going to get some Stoot Troop and some Natro, we're going to get an ATGM out here, and I'm going to try to shunt the board so that it looks like this, so that I have a line here. And if I can connect to right here, then it really becomes hard for 42 to cap in Delta, which seemed like a nice way for me to win the game in the long run, if not the short. Unfortunately, Salamandra, no air defense. I don't know what my 104G was doing at the time. I didn't have one, but I don't think I'd lost it. Interesting. Still, Salamandra, very weird helicopter, and I think it had already used a couple of Kokon M's, or it was saving them. Not entirely sure. Oh, could have been saving them. Here comes Assyria. Yeah, that's a big investment. LSTR, and a simultaneous push in Delta. And this is really nice, because so this sort of thing is what I expected in the beginning, with lots of chaff here and Motschützen trying to come up and take the town. But he's splitting my attention really well, so I have the 104Gs. We are going to go after the Salamandra here, hopefully get the kill there. And the FL12, I really wanted that last hit, don't get it, but we do take out the Salamandra. 80-point pickup is very nice, and it does limit 42's recon over in Fox, which is at the moment the best I could hope for. So this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a long game. You can see it goes pretty long here, not quite to time, because we did have about 4 minutes of setup at the beginning, but yeah, it was a rough game, that's for sure. And, you know, that also means that I didn't see this and give up, and that would have been maybe a reasonable thing to do. I've lost a Tiger, I've lost a 2A5, I've lost control of Foxtrot, which is supposed to be my zone, I've lost control of Delta, and I only have a little bit of sneaky stuff in Alpha, but, you know, I think sometimes there is something for sheer obstinacy, so I did not feel like giving up here. I felt like fighting it out, seeing what would happen, seeing if I can pull it back, and, well, we'll watch that together whether or not that came true. Either way, well played to 42. Brutal opener, brutal opener, and brutal first, 6 or 7 minutes especially. So, 104Gs, we are taking a little bit of a dive here, looking for that MI-17, but I also wanted to test his air defense, and it looked pretty light. So this is something, when you see a lot of planes, there's often not a ton of backline units, because, well, either that or you have no front, because you're buying planes, right? So the points are going somewhere, and I thought, well, maybe I can get this pickup, maybe we can see if we can then make him buy more anti-air instead of more on the front line, because for all the pressure that we've been getting, it has been pretty sparse. These Motschützen are 15 points and 5-point transports, so that's going to be 40 points per double stack right there, so it's 80 points right there. It's less than a full minute. Now this is a problem, right? Yeah, this is a problem. This is what I said earlier for why I didn't want to move the FL12 over on the side. That's an SPW-80, and I don't notice it at this point. So it's going in, and I should have noticed this. It's on the minimap, but sometimes you don't see these things, and, well, I have Führungsgruppe, I have double M110 here. I have no base defense set up yet, which is another big problem. 8.5 minutes in, you need base defense. You spend 40-60 points on this, and you don't lose the game from stuff like the SPW-80. So, it was also really funny, I think, at this point, if we go to, well, I don't want to go to neutral, I don't want to show you what he has quite yet, but he had a ping here with the Huzaren that said, "You can't run away, I'm faster." I saw that, and when I was looking at the replay, I was just like, dude, that's pretty goofy. Pretty funny, and he is right, his Spezialaufklärer are faster than my Huzaren, so, yeah, I can't really run away, but I can hide, so that was the whole intention. And then we're gonna play a little bit of a longer snipey game here. We have the Neva SC moving up, but I have double M110, and I can hopefully find that target. LSTR lose to a couple of AMX Prees, which is really hilarious. One of them up vets straight to veteran right there, which is very nice. And I'm trying to reclaim part of Foxtrot while just making this a slow and painful thing for 42 to push into. And so with that, we see this T-72S coming up, right? And that T-72S, 125 points, can really cause a lot of problems here. I have nothing really that can hit it. My ATGMs have been killed one after another, even the other ones that I called in. And, oh man, F-104G sacrificial. But if it gets the kill, right? So I threw a 60-point plane into the Thermomig. Thermomig got stunned, continued into my air defense, and then dies. I like that. That's good. I'll take it. But that T-72S needs to go. And this is a moment where I actually didn't feel too bad about considering a plane buy, because Well, I have no forces on the ground here to handle it. I should have maybe brought in an ATGM up to the high ground here. I didn't. And I really wasn't sure how to handle this thing. I mean, yeah, it's overextended a little bit. There's not that much up here. And because of that, 42 is pulling it back. But I can't count on that forever. And as soon as this stuff meets success, if it meets success, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So I was grateful for the FL12s here, killing the speech shell off Clara. But I think you guys can see what I mean. I'm just not really comfortable with this deck. And I describe that basically as, do you know what to do when things go wrong without having to think through a ton all the time? And right now for me with DGC, I'm not at that level. So block 15 comes in, we do scoot that T-72 off the board and survive. One Neva is not all that reliable. It can work, but not all that reliable. And we get that ASF going a little bit far over the air defense, which I was not able to turn on in time. So a bit of a misplay there from both of us, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. There needed to be smoke on the T-72, and there wasn't. And there actually wasn't all that much smoke on most targets this game. It was a little bit odd in that regard. But, you know, it was a tough game regardless, so can't exactly be too critical here. Double T-72, M1M, these guys are from the opener, and I'm just trying to peel off his eyes there, so we kill the speech shell off Clara, all but one or two, I think, and that does cost, because the T-72 M1M still have vision on their own. I don't think they would have been able to see that, so that right there says, okay, there's still probably something here. Yep, 3 speech shell off Clara, that kind of sucks, but we'll do what we can, and then I'm just moving around. So this is one thing I wanted to show, and this is actually the time where I want to show 42's deployment. Think about all the pressure that I had gotten earlier on. Like, this was a really uncomfortable game, but so much of it has been air buys. We saw an ASF, we saw 2 thermomigs, we saw an ATGM playing the Syria, we saw all this sort of stuff, and there's really very little control on the ground. So he doesn't even know that I'm over here. He doesn't even know that I'm in the woods on the side, and that's going to be a really big problem. Plus we have Honor 4G, KWS engaging here, and I don't know, the Polish MiG is very good, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough necessarily to protect. So I lose the KWS, he loses the Syria, and quite frankly, I consider myself up on the trade because the Syria is a really impactful tool that I needed to pull apart, and we got it right there. And in the meantime, let me show you now the neutral perspective, because, I mean, I have infantry past his front line, not in one place, but in several places. We have, well, yeah, there's a little bit of that on our side too, but it's only one LSTR, whereas I have AMXs, I have FL12s, I have Panzergren, Stuttrupp, and AMX Pries. We have basically almost an envelopment here. Look, there's really nothing back beyond this way either, right? And I didn't really know this at the time, but it was something I was kind of thinking about, as I was wondering how much he had on the ground here. And we're going to be taking advantage of this if we can. We're going to be going through trying to really exploit the gaps in 42's defense, but it's not going to be quick, and it's not going to be immediate, and I know this, but you know, it's not the end of the world. My hope was to win this in a long game at the 5-6 minute mark, and so far in the last 7 or 8 minutes, I think we have been taking good trades, we have been getting good kills, and that might be coming to fruition if I can just apply a bit more pressure. So what do I need to do this? Well, I need more of a functional presence in Alpha on my side. I need to get some force projection in the middle again to try to retake the center of the board, and I need to reclaim right here. So I can't have LSTR back here. It's just not a comfortable thing, but they are very combat capable, very tough to get rid of, and I need to close out this route, because as long as this route is open, this road on the right hand side, I'm in a lot of trouble. I don't like being in a lot of trouble, so yeah. And then the roll-in 3s, I actually really liked roll-in 3s. I was moving them around a lot. These guys are the wheeled variant, and when they upvet, I mean, geez, ASF, double tap, dead, cool, and we just move. So that counterfire is not going to be great for roll-in 3s. It will be great against these FL12s though, because I have not really moved these. They were spotted going into the bushes here, and boom, dead. So a bit of give and take. I was getting some good picks, he was getting some good picks, he lost his ASF, I lost my fire support, and there's nothing now in the middle. I don't even really have recon here other than the Huzaren, so this is really dangerous, really uncomfortable stuff, and it needs to be plugged fast. The other thing that was nice here too, we did kill this vehicle right there, and that was an ATGM transport, so there's a Conqueror's M firing, and this is where the FL12's fast rate of fire comes in very handy. We get the kill, and I actually just shoved an AMX pre back here. This is a CV. So we stun the CV transport. God, this is I'm sorry. Sometimes I will do deep strike stuff like this with even just a box, but, you know, infantry, autocannon vehicles, stuff like that, and it gets really pretty goofy. This was a bit of a throw, though, so I was hoping the AMX pre would keep that spotted long enough, and I would... Well, that's a sentence. But instead, I mean, seeing that it was stunned, that command infantry did get unloaded, and I lose one 104G evac ordered, but evac order was after the stun. And what was really pretty amazing was that MiG just had more than enough time to turn around, launch another missile, and I just lost 120 points on that trade. So my goal was, you know, okay, if I lose the 104Gs trading for a command infantry and a helo, that's nice. But instead I lost mine, and I didn't pick up his. So Charlie is going to be capped, and that will start tick for 42, which so far is still 0-0. I mean, 17 minutes in on Mudfight, 0-0 tick, no caps coming out to either Fox or Charlie. From my perspective, it's because Fox wasn't safe. From his, I'm really not sure. I think he might have been unhappy with how little he had on the ground here, and I certainly understand that. Because again, this is all isolated, there's no wide front at all, and I just haven't been engaging. So most of his units on the ground here have gone without an engagement in the last 8 or 9 minutes. Because you know what? Why do I need to engage? I stand to benefit nothing from this, because I don't have a tank to handle this, I don't have fire support to handle this, and really I think 42 should have been encroaching. He should have been pushing through into my woods in alpha, and I don't really know why he wasn't. But, you know, the hindsight's 20/20, and a lot of the times the answer is things look way less good from your opponent's perspective than you think they do. It can really be an awkward thing. So Syria's coming in, block 15, KWS. I was buying a little bit in the air as well, just to sort of shut this down, and we do get the kill. That's the second Syria gone, so no more of those, no more direct ACGM planes going for my stuff. And with that, my 2A1 is safe, and we're going to be retaking Foxtrot in force this time, because, you know, we tried it with a light push rather, earlier on. It didn't work. I've had it. This is my zone. Get out of my zone. We're going to be pushing in with McMan42's, Panzergren 90, 2A1, Natra, more Natra. I have an FL12 here spotting reinforcements coming in. Foxtrot is mine. And with that, now I feel comfortable capping. So, on this side, I have more Corps Mariner moving all the way around, Panzergren 90 moving all the way around, Stuttruppen 95 just waiting. Just waiting. And these guys do incredible work, we'll see. And we just had to wait for the right time. So, I saw no reason to move in right now, and we'll see if we can find one real soon. Because the issue is, even with Foxtrot cleared back to mine, the most I can do is stop this tick to 0-0. And even then, there's a lot of space in Delta for a Red 4 cap, there's a lot of space in Alpha that looks tempting to him right now for a cap, and I was hoping he might go for it, and I could come in and kill this stuff with infantry from behind. So, just like those two T-72 M1Ms, I was really hoping to get, you know, Corps Mariner in here, and then I can come in and he's attack moving in, he thinks this is safe. It's not. But it was a bit too far away, and my Corps Mariner honestly should have moved in earlier. I didn't want them to get spotted and killed. So, just trying to be cautious before I had enough here to really be comfortable. So, Panzergren 90 are going to be moving up, and this was that Neva, I'm pretty sure. No, that's a Scott. Well, SPW. Huh. I really thought that was going to be the Neva. Well, as I said, it's been just a little bit between this replay and when I'm posting it. But we have the Pgren 90 going up, block 15 was looking for the T-72 M1Ms, and there's the Neva. We do finally spot it, not able to hit it, and this was a really, really risky run. Look at this. We get hit by one. That's LSTR shooting in. We get out just before the Neva was going to hit, and the Panzergren are looking for that Neva, which, interestingly enough, because it has 0 armor, they'll engage with their tertiary, which was not what I wanted. I wanted them to go up and use that Panzerfaust 3, but you gotta be really careful about this with unarmored vehicles that you don't necessarily think to yourself. Like, you think, oh, it's a vehicle, we'll use the Panzerfaust. Well, it has 0 armor. Oh, we'll use the tertiary because attack move says go until you can damage it, and I can damage it. But we did get the kill just there, I think. Yeah, that's dead. And with that, my Panzergren 90 have more than paid for themselves, so you know, it'd be ideal if they could get out of this, but it doesn't have to be that way. And then that also makes it pretty awkward. Corps Mariner are looking for the side shot. We hit, but not good enough. AT4, 19 AP, a little bit lackluster. Not horrible, but not great, right? Like, people talk about this for US infantry as well with the 19 AP, particularly the Rifleman 90 that have that. It's just, it's a little uncomfortable. You compare it to Fusileer's 90 for the same point cost, you get 22 AP, and that's much more impactful. So 19 can one-shot 5 armor, which is pretty low. 22 can one-shot 8 armor, which is quite a lot higher, and a lot of tanks will have that as their side, including this one. So 22 AP could have one-shot the T-72s to the side. Not that we actually got a side shot, but, you know, it's things to think about, right? So we have an MI-17 Veteran C2 coming up. This could be from the other CV, or it could be dropping off a new one. A little bit hard to tell until it starts touching down here, if it does. And I was watching this like a hawk. I was sitting there thinking, okay, you're going to do that right in front of my Huzaren. I have 2 M110s. Let's have some fun. And then this was actually really nice. The Core Mariner here did prevent McMan42 from having a good presence in Alpha, even if his tanks did get away. And with the Core Mariner here as well, Panzer 90 on this side, there's not enough room here to be comfortable. And this was actually a new CV, the infantry right there, and they're walking up and into this hedgerow, probably to go over to this corner. So I was pre-firing, we have some shots on the way already. I don't think they're going to connect just because he moved. I expected him to go back to this side, and he didn't quite do that, so I'm firing in the wrong spot. But, you know, that happens. And now we have the Stu Troop in 95 finally ready for their orders here, finally ready to get moving up and in, and hopefully making a big impact here as they get into Charlie, maybe even into Bravo. I split them up. We have one going into this section of woods here, and one that's going to be looking at going back into the back corner, and or spotting that artillery, which had been a pain in my ass the whole time. I mean, like, even now, he's firing at these rolling threes, because it turns out they are spotted moving up here by recon infantry in the forward section of Delta. Actually, no, this was counterbat. My apologies. Yeah, he was getting tired of the M110s. I can't blame him. Artillery, I mean, it's like, you use it, and you think, oh, this is great, and your opponent thinks, oh man, this is the most annoying thing ever, so they buy some, and they're going, oh, this is great now, and you're going, oh, this is the most annoying thing ever. It's like, why does my opponent use so much artillery, and then you're using artillery? It's like, yeah, such is life. But we get a nice pickup there on Motschützen. 15-point infantry is expensive. You're going to lose a lot of it to things like elites in the woods, and can't really afford to do that. It's not like 5-point infantry and 5-point boxes, where you can afford literally twice as many. Yeah, Motschützen are very powerful, but they have to be kept alive. I'm bringing in more. I've decided, you know what, let's just not take the open ground engagements here, that's fine. And this escort does draw out a Polish MiG. I was hoping to get a nice pickup here with the escort as bait, but yeah, unfortunately only one hit there, so he will get out. We'll just return, heal up, come back in. Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world at all. What is really the end of the world at the moment is potentially for 42 here that my Stu Troop in are almost in range of their AT-4, side-shotting anything coming down. And I thought about doing that against these reinforcements coming in, and then I reconsidered just because that's not the main target that I'm interested in. Oh, that was a little risky. He did actually dive back for the escort. What I'm interested in here is finding the CV, because what we saw earlier on... Oh, jeez. What we saw earlier on was that it was stunned moving this way, and then it unloaded, which means it wasn't in the air very long. So I was expecting his CV infantry to be somewhere on this side of Charlie, and granted Stu Troopin aren't recon, but they still do have, like most non-recon infantry, medium optics, which I think people forget about sometimes. Infantry will spot a lot better than most crap vehicles or tanks that don't have that for themselves, which can be pretty nice. So not the best engagement here with the T-72s. I was a little late on the Core Mariner because I was microing stuff back here as well, and trying to keep my CV in this helicopter alive, looking to get a +1 tick however I can, basically. And I was thinking to myself, you know what, if I have the whole left side of Alpha, let's just stick a CV in there. But instead of flying it in with that ASF circling and apparently good vision from 42, we're just going to be walking it in. A lot safer, but a lot slower. And here's the Velitelski Stab that is capping this zone for 42. We're going to kill it. 2 guns firing in. There's no way this thing's getting out. I don't think he even realized necessarily, which is a big problem. Right, so blue that far back, and he should have been looking at it right away. Instead, we decap Charlie. That is going to be a +1 tick. Block 15 going in, but we lose line of sight. The Core Mariners getting ground down. A little bit of give and take. Probably favoring my side there because of the CV kill, but we're going to double down on it with... Oh, jeez. Yeah, with not a lot. Man, this is why I really should do these like the day after, because there's just a couple of things when I wait a couple weeks, but like, I don't know, I was on a bit of a hiatus, and I think it's a good thing because I'm much more enthusiastic for doing these now than I was you know, everything gets, when you have a trying week and you go and you try and do this and you realize, oh, I'm talking like I'm all sad. It's not exactly the best thing. But as a result, I have a large amount of really good replays that are a little bit delayed in time. Like this one. How could I not show this one to you? With the opener Napalm, with the opener Lost in Foxtrot, this whole scrappy game, and you know, shifting the field into Alpha, the deep strike into Charlie here. How could I not show this one to you guys, right? But I do ask that you pardon me. It's been a little bit of time, and I'm doing my best to remember everything accurately here as we go through. So T72S moving through, and this was really kind of goofy. Usually the response to a decap like this, where you don't, like, there was no artillery marks, so it wasn't from the M110s, it was from something in Charlie. Usually the response is recon, and recon ASAP. But instead we just have normal reinforcements coming through. There's a T-72S moving through this way, and it made me wonder, did he even realize that Charlie was decapped here? I'm not entirely sure, because, I mean, yeah, the Mi-17's going looking, but this thing, it's not a Salamandra, it has no optics. My Stu Troopin are just there hanging out, chilling. Fine, right? Like, that's alright. We're good. There's resupply moving through as well. Like, this was a normal reinforcement lane, it looked like still, even though Charlie's decapped, and that is a really big issue. So, on this side, Panzergren killing Motschützen, but getting caught out by a little bit more fire support than I'd like. We do get the Panzerfaust 3s online here, and this will probably be an even trade, but that's not really the sort of thing that you're looking at doing. This is a big problem I have with Shocks and Elites, is I often will trade even where I need to be getting a good hit and then pulling back. So I'm trying to do better with that, trying to keep those infantry alive just a bit more than I otherwise was. And we'll see if it works out more in the next couple of weeks. But T-72S coming in, double T-72M1M, and just the medium tanks here were quite a menace until and unless the Block 15 has anything to say about it, and kaboom. I do trade the Block 15 here, but we've gotten 2 T-72S kills with it, and the Roland 3s might, well, yep, there it is, and we get that ASF as well, so this is a good trade. Free? No. Good trade? Yes. And in the meantime, that's a BMP-2K. A little bit out of range of that AT-4 until right now. Side shot. Boom. Second CV kill off the Stutes. Oh my goodness. These guys were so rude. So rude. But effective. Alright, like, I get that people will look at this and think it's really cheesy. I think it's actually less cheesy than things like a late game 5 helicopters into a zone sort of thing, because yeah, I had to come all the way up through here. There were opportunities for screening infantry to catch this, for recon to catch this. You need to secure your flanks. I don't know. Everyone has different definitions of cheese, different definitions of things that really grind their gears. This one, to me, yeah, it's so frustrating when it happens to you. But almost always when it happens to you, it's because there wasn't enough recon on a flank, and or there wasn't an appropriate reaction to it at the first opportunity. Something like killing a screening force, or in this case, as bad as losing that first CV was, losing the second was because there was no attempt to root out the cause. So that, the damage here is, well, I would say self-inflicted is too far. It's certainly not aided by the actions of my opponent here right now. That really did just make things a little bit worse. So we pick up one of those 2 tanks, not both. Other Block 15 does get out, and this has been a really big pit fight. I've lost most of my stuff in Alpha, but we've been directing all of 42's attention here, which has actually worked out kind of okay. I have Core Mariner, I have more Core Mariner. As I said, I'm not really playing DGC anymore, but this was really my playtest with it, and I did like the Core Mariner. They performed very well against infantry here, and this, I mean, how, oh my goodness, 1, 2, 3, look at that. These are 2 CVs right next to each other. The same one, the same mechanized CV off the Stu Troopin that have barely even moved since the last kill. So, I mean, good, jeez. If you think about the game up to that point, like, even if we were trading even right there, that's 300 plus points in my favor from a single sneaky Stu Troopin 95. This cannot happen. It can't happen. It's just catastrophic, right? Like, I've been ticking +2, but if Charlie was still capped, if Delta was capped, if Alpha was counter-capped, that's very different. And that's 3 CVs. That's the change that we've just seen right here. I know, on the other hand, I did kind of miss it. Actually missed it during the game as well. Cluster finally did get my Roland 3s, but by then they've well and truly paid for themselves. And we're going to be going in a little bit of a dive here, looking for that other ASF, KWS, Block 15, and yeah, I mean, we get it, but it's not free. So I really hoped that the KWS would be the one to die there, but instead I lose my TGM plane. A little bit rough, but I mean, it's kind of my fault for leading with the OCU as well. while we're on a consequences of my own actions sort of thing. But yeah, I don't think I had any 104Gs left. I had 3 of them up-betted this game. So this is the consequence of that really early throw where I lost both the 104Gs trying to kill a CV and I didn't get it. You know, you make mistakes in the first 10 minutes, they come back to bite you in the last 10. It's definitely a thing. So, we're getting more reinforcements over. I have Leopard 2A1s, I have Huzhou Ren. I'm preparing to get a bit more of a main shunt up to this side if I can. It'd be really nice to clear out this section of Alpha. Help me protect my Führungsgruppe here a bit more than they currently are. Corps Mariner are nice, but they're not enough, especially when I know that my opponent loves medium tanks and lots of infantry in front of them. We do also have a cap on Delta. It was spotted, it was dinged pretty hard there, so we're going to be healing this, smoking it off, and this is the nice thing about command tanks. Even if my opponent knows where it is, it's still tough to kill, especially because there are no ATGM planes left for red, so there's no way of just spotting it, coming in, sniping it in one fell swoop. My opponent is going to have to engage with everything that I have on this side, and we have a 4th BMP2K coming out. My Stuttruppen are still alive, and this is just... it's a disaster. It really is. Now, this one goes a bit differently. He's actually being a bit more cautious here, coming up and getting into this side. And this is where I make a big mistake as well. So, I know that his CV is right here. I also know it's a BMP-2K, which while resistant is not a tank, and I have 2 M110s. And the first thing I should have done is just fired at it. Because double M110, I think I'd get corrected shot even. Yeah, so we've moved a little bit more, I can see it now. Definitely get corrected shot. And we can kill this thing because it only has 1 top, so it's not very resilient against artillery. Instead, I was trying to get there with the AT4, and he just withdraws, he's shooting me, my Stuttruppen are finally going to be caught out and killed there, but they've done more than enough work. With 7.5 minutes left, we're up 201 to 75, ticking +2, and yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tough game for 42 to get back into, if at all, and what we can really see is that what we said earlier on is still true. There's a whole contingent in Alpha that's been fighting, and fighting decently effectively. This is a very forward position, but it has no midline support. There's no support around the right-hand side. There's very little going on in Delta for force projection here. It's almost as if this detachment was fighting isolated pretty much the whole game, and if it had been connected instead, I think that would have been a strong win for 42 in the first 10 minutes. So, I don't know, man. Like, what's the conclusion from this? Is it not to buy planes? Because the planes were why he didn't have stuff on the ground, but the planes also did get nice pickups, and he was very far into Foxtrot with some infantry that, had it survived, would have given him a nice base to deny me my own flank. Like, this feels to me as though we each had our Gambit, and mine was a little bit less risky. So, even though I did take big losses in the beginning with that Patu Tiger with the 2A5, I was able to capitalize, I think, on some of the flaws in my opponent's deployment a bit better than he was able to capitalize on the flaws in mine. And they were there, trust me. There were lots of flaws in mine. We had a very, very bad position between Delta Alpha for a while. But when we did, there was no big push coming in. And I think, had that big push come in there, things would have looked a lot different. So, Patu Tiger, another ASF. I almost think he takes 2 cards. Or, I mean, yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? Yeah, that's the German one. So we've seen the Polish and German MiG here. KWS, let's just take our points and throw them at each other, boys. This is what happens when ASFs duel. Yep, 140 to 150, technically a good trade for me. But yeah, I mean, this is just... what was the point of this? We each spent 140, 150-ish points so that we could throw them away, which is... yeah, I guess that's Wargame for you sometimes. So, Mi-17 landing there, BMP-2K moving over here. And I'm not quite sure why this one didn't go for Delta first. Might have been just a little bit of stress in this last couple minutes trying to stop this tick as quickly as he can. But I can see this. I have a Tiger that's really far forward. And the nice thing about this position is that the woods will block off a lot of line of sight from air defense on the Red Force side, so long as you don't go too far left, because this woods line is actually pretty high up. So we get the pick there. Yeah, this is, I mean, my helicopter is lower than this entire section of ridged forest. So even something like an OSA here would have a lot of difficulty firing in on that Patu Tiger. In the meantime, now we're finally taking the tank fight. Here in the last 5 minutes, I have double 2A1, and that T-72 M1M is not going to be heavy enough for this job. Although just to get a nice little shot in there, it's not enough. We clean that up, and with the reinforcements coming in, that is going to be a tough thing for my opponent to deal with here in the closing minutes of the game. So that is going to prompt a surrender, and let's take a quick look. By the way, well played to 42. Very tough game. Very tough couple minutes. I was definitely sweating during this one. We were up 3,495 to 2,455, and the stars of the show are going to have to be things like the Roland 3s, taking out both those Thermomigs, MI17. That's just one of them, so we had even better performance off the other. I do like the F104Gs. I mean, Salamandra, MI17, that's a nice return on investment. If I hadn't thrown them away, could have been even better. And then, in particular, I think the Core Mariner grind in the woods did pretty well. So we're killing a lot of moat shoots in for every Core Mariner. Some BMP2s, which are very expensive. Things like that. Just very cost-efficient in grinding. And, of course, the star of the show, nobody else but the Astute Trooper 95 with not one, not two, but 3 CV kills to their names. Could not ask for better from that. And it definitely made the last couple minutes easier for me to deal with. So that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Hope you did have a good time, and thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.